Never eat this breakfast if you fear dementia, the breakfast habit silently harming senior brains. Every morning across countless kitchens, the scene looks the same. A box of cereal, a slice of toast, a glass of orange juice. Quick, easy, familiar. For decades, that combo has been the symbol of a wholesome start to the day. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That exact breakfast habit might silently be fueling memory decline, foggy thinking, and even long-term dementia risk. The problem isn't that seniors are skipping breakfast. It's what they're reaching for once they sit down at the table. Rising dementia rates have many of us searching for prevention strategies, brain games, supplements, crossword puzzles. Yet, few realize the key may not be on a pharmacy shelf, but on the breakfast plate. New studies published between 2024 and 2025 point to one often overlooked cause of brain aging: insulin resistance driven by diet. When the body loses its sensitivity to insulin, brain cells struggle to absorb the glucose they need for energy. Over time, this can damage neurons, disrupt memory circuits, and increase the likelihood of neurodegeneration. And here's the kicker. Seniors are far more vulnerable to these metabolic changes than younger adults. After age 60, metabolism naturally slows, muscle mass declines, and blood sugar control weakens. That's a perfect storm for high-carb breakfasts to do extra harm. So even if you've always eaten toast and cereal without issues, your brain now reacts differently. What once kept you energized can now trigger a mid-morning crash, irritability, and that dreaded senior moment before lunchtime. Researchers have seen this pattern repeatedly. In one major international study, older adults who ate highly processed breakfasts, cereals, pastries, even so-called meal bars, experienced a 28% faster rate of overall cognitive decline over 8 years compared to those who ate more whole foods. The culprits? Refined carbohydrates, added sugars, and artificial additives that send blood glucose soaring and insulin flooding through the body. It's that repeated morning insulin surge that sets off inflammation, stresses blood vessels, and slowly dulls the communication between brain cells. But don't worry, this isn't a call to panic or give up breakfast altogether. In fact, skipping breakfast turns out to be another problem. Several 2024 studies, including brain imaging research, showed that older adults who regularly skipped their morning meal had lower cognitive scores and early signs of neurodegeneration. That means consistency matters, but only if the meal itself supports stable blood sugar and provides enough protein to feed your brain cells the right fuel. The biggest misunderstanding is that healthy means low fat and high carb. Decades of diet messaging taught people to avoid eggs and lean on grains and juice. That advice backfires after 60. During the overnight fast, the brain uses stored glucose to keep running. By morning, reserves are low. If the first thing you eat is pure carbohydrate, like cereal or white toast with jam, it causes a sharp glucose spike. The body responds by releasing a surge of insulin to push that sugar into cells, but seniors' tissues don't respond as efficiently anymore. What follows is a steep drop in blood sugar, leaving you tired, foggy, and oddly hungry again just an hour later. Over weeks and months, that daily roller coaster can push the body toward insulin resistance, a condition already found in up to half of adults over 60. Once insulin resistance takes hold, the brain starts to lose flexibility in how it uses energy. Scientists now suspect these fluctuations contribute directly to memory problems and even promote the same cellular stress seen in Alzheimer's disease. So when you pour a bowl of heart-healthy cereal or reach for a glass of juice, you might actually be setting your brain up for the opposite outcome. But here's the hopeful part. The damage isn't inevitable. Research shows that when seniors switch to breakfasts rich in protein and lower on the glycemic index, think eggs, Greek yogurt with berries, or steel-cut oats with nuts, cognitive performance improves, memory becomes sharper, and energy stays steady through the morning. That's what this video is about. Understanding which breakfast habits quietly sabotage your brain, why they cause those mid-morning crashes, and how easy tweaks can protect your long-term memory. We'll break down the worst offenders, reveal what's really happening with insulin and the brain, and then finish with simple, satisfying meals that help keep your thinking clear. This isn't about restriction, it's about eating smarter so your brain stays sharp. Let's start by looking at why breakfast matters more after 60, and why the first meal of your day can either help preserve your memory or speed its decline. Why breakfast has a bigger impact after 60. Let's start with something most people never think about: what actually happens in your body overnight. While you sleep, your brain keeps running through dreams, memory consolidation, and cellular cleanup, but it's doing all that with a fuel tank that's slowly emptying. By the time morning arrives, your brain's glucose stores are nearly gone. For younger adults, that's not a huge deal. Their metabolism is flexible and quick to rebound. But after 60, everything slows: glucose uptake, muscle efficiency, even digestion. That means what you eat after waking holds much more power over how your brain performs for the rest of the day. Here's the thing: seniors don't just burn calories more slowly, they also respond to sugar differently. Research consistently shows that older adults experience higher spikes in blood sugar from the same foods compared to younger people. For instance, cornflakes that scored a glycemic index around 64 in younger testers shot up to 81 for seniors in controlled studies. That means the same bowl of cereal raises blood sugar faster, and higher simply because your metabolism has changed. Your pancreas pumps out more insulin to deal with that surge, but your cells don't respond as well as they once did. The sugar rush that might have felt harmless earlier in life now leaves you foggy or even shaky an hour later. This matters because your brain is an energy-intensive organ. It uses roughly 20% of your body's glucose, even though it weighs only a few pounds. When blood sugar spikes and crashes, your brain feels it first. That sudden drop leads to word-finding pauses, lapses in short-term recall, and a general sense of sluggishness. For decades, people blamed that on aging itself, but mounting data says otherwise. It's not inevitable decline, it's dysregulated energy supply. Skipping breakfast only worsens the issue. Several modern studies, including one involving MRI imaging in adults over 55, found lower memory-related brain activity and more signs of neurodegeneration in habitual breakfast skippers. In other words, your brain needs refueling in the morning, but it has to be the right fuel. Waiting too long or eating too little can cause the body to release cortisol, the stress hormone, further raising blood sugar instability. That's why many older adults describe feeling tired yet wired mid-morning. It's a metabolic imbalance, not poor sleep or bad luck. But eating anything isn't the answer either. A donut or sweet cereal might lift your mood briefly because the sugar gives a burst of dopamine, but it sets off the same metabolic domino effect that drains focus by 10 a.m. Over time, these repeated highs and lows alter how neurons communicate. Insulin helps deliver glucose to brain cells, so when resistance builds, those cells begin to starve for energy even while blood sugar levels remain high. Scientists call this brain insulin resistance, and it's now recognized as a major pathway connecting diet to dementia. Protein plays a crucial protective role here. After 60, protein utilization drops, meaning your body needs a higher quality source to maintain both muscles and brain chemistry. Amino acids from protein are precursors to neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that control alertness, memory, and mood. Breakfast provides a perfect window to replenish them after an overnight fast. In 2024, several longitudinal studies found that seniors who ate higher protein breakfasts performed better on memory tests and showed a slower rate of cognitive decline than those who started with predominantly carbohydrate meals. Researchers emphasized that it wasn't simply total protein over the day that mattered, but specifically protein quality at breakfast, measured by PDCAS, the amino acid score used to gauge completeness. So what does that mean in plain terms? A cup of Greek yogurt or a couple of eggs early in the day can do more for your brain than an entire loaf of so-called enriched bread. Think of breakfast as setting the metabolic tone for the next 12 hours. If it starts with protein and fiber, blood sugar rises gently and stays stable. If it starts with refined carbs, you get the spike and crash ride that forces insulin to overwork. With age, that constant strain contributes to cellular stress and inflammation inside the brain, the same process is seen in Alzheimer's pathology. There's another reason breakfast matters more now. Appetite and food intake naturally decline with age. Many older adults simply eat less overall, which can mean lower nutrient variety. Breakfast becomes one of the few reliable opportunities to load up on what the brain actually needs: essential amino acids, B vitamins, and healthy fats. Skipping it or filling it with empty calories only deepens nutrient gaps. That's why clinicians increasingly ask older patients detailed questions about their morning routine when assessing cognitive health. Maybe you've noticed how missing breakfast or relying on a muffin affects the rest of your day: concentration dips, energy flags, maybe even mood changes. That's not coincidence. The morning sets the rhythm for your body's hormone and glucose cycles. Stable blood sugar early means smoother energy later, better appetite control, and improved insulin sensitivity over time. When people fix just that one habit, they often notice sharper mental clarity within weeks. None of this means you have to give up favorite foods forever. The key is combining and balancing them differently. Instead of a plain bagel, add peanut butter or pair half a grapefruit with cottage cheese. Instead of relying on juice, eat the whole fruit with its fiber intact. The goal isn't to make breakfast complicated, but to make it balanced enough that your metabolism stays steady instead of spiking and crashing. Researchers from multiple countries now agree breakfast quality may matter as much for brain aging as total calorie intake does for weight. The first meal after the overnight fast can either reinforce insulin sensitivity or undermine it. For younger people, the body can recover easily. For seniors, repeated shock waves from high glycemic foods carve out lasting changes in brain metabolism. The good news is that the process can often be slowed or even improved once better eating patterns start. So if you've ever wondered why mornings bring that mental haze, or why coffee isn't enough to clear it anymore, there's your answer. It's the combination of slower metabolism, higher sugar sensitivity, and the wrong fuel after waking. Choosing a smarter mix at breakfast isn't just about avoiding fatigue. It's about giving your neurons the consistent energy they need to keep signals firing smoothly. Later, we'll explore exactly which foods trick you into thinking they're helping while quietly harming your memory. For now, remember this simple truth. After 60, breakfast isn't optional or symbolic. It's a daily opportunity to feed your brain the stability it craves. The most common senior breakfasts and their hidden traps. Let's take a closer look at what ends up on most breakfast tables, the familiar, comforting foods we grew up trusting. You know the ones: a bowl of cereal with milk, a slice of toast, maybe a little jam, and a glass of orange juice. They're quick, tasty, and marketed as part of a balanced breakfast. But if you break down what's actually happening inside your body after eating these foods, the story changes completely, especially after 60. The same foods that once kept you going may now be quietly draining your brain and energy before noon. Start with boxed cereals, cornflakes, bran flakes, or those shiny whole grain clusters that promise extra fiber. On paper, they look good. Many are fortified with vitamins and minerals. Labels boast heart healthy or made with whole grains. But look closer. Even the better brands are mostly refined flour and sugar. A typical serving has a glycemic index well above 70, which means it pushes blood sugar up faster, in fact, than table sugar for many seniors. And since older adults experience higher spikes than younger people, That bowl of cereal can send glucose soaring within minutes. Your body responds with a surge of insulin, your energy jumps, and then, about an hour later, it all crashes. Instant oatmeal falls into the same trap. The oats themselves are great. They're full of fiber and beneficial compounds. But once they're flattened, pre-cooked, and flavored with sugar, they lose their slow-digesting power. Instant oatmeal's glycemic index can climb to 80, putting it in the high range. That means your blood sugar behaves like you just ate a candy bar for breakfast. Sure, steel-cut oats or old-fashioned rolled oats digest much more slowly, but most people in a hurry grab the easy packets. The result, a morning roller coaster that leaves you fatigued and oddly hungry again by mid-morning, even if you ate what seemed like a generous bowl. And then there's toast, white bread, and even many wheat breads are basically refined flour with a tan. Their glycemic index averages around 75, nearly as high as pure glucose. Add jam or marmalade, and you've just layered on concentrated sugar with very little fiber to slow absorption. Within half an hour, glucose and insulin have both spiked, then dropped abruptly. That crash is what leaves you searching for another cup of coffee or a mid-morning snack. Now, imagine combining these foods, cereal followed by juice, or toast with jam and a banana. Each one adds another layer to the spike. Nutrition researchers call this a glycemic load stack, and for older adults with slower glucose clearance, it's a recipe for mental fog. When blood sugar rises quickly, the brain gets a flood of glucose. It uses what it can, but neurons can't store the excess. The leftover sugar triggers inflammation and oxidative stress, the same processes that underlie many neurodegenerative diseases. Juice seems innocent, maybe even virtuous. After all, it's fruit, right? But once fruit is stripped of its fiber and squeezed into a glass, what's left is essentially liquid sugar. Even 100% orange juice has a glycemic index around 65 and more than 20 grams of sugar per cup. The problem isn't just calories, it's velocity. All that sugar rushes into the bloodstream at once. In older adults with diminished insulin sensitivity, that causes a rapid overshoot and crash pattern. Studies have linked frequent juice consumption to poorer insulin control and higher risk of type 2 diabetes, both key players in cognitive decline. Breakfast bars are another classic trap. Marketed as convenient and often protein-enriched, many are little more than candy disguised in health claims. They're ultra-processed, packed with refined oils, syrup binders, and additives. The 2024 cohort research on ultra-processed foods found that those who got more than 20% of their calories from these products saw a 28% faster overall cognitive decline and a 25% faster decline in executive function. That includes memory, decision-making, and mental flexibility, the very skills seniors fight hardest to preserve. Most breakfast bars fit squarely in that ultra-processed category. So, how does this all connect to the brain? When you start your day with high glycemic, low-protein foods, you're forcing your body to rely entirely on quick sugar for energy. The spike feels nice at first because dopamine rises with glucose, giving a short mood boost. But once insulin sweeps the sugar out of your blood, your brain is left running on fumes. The sharp drop that follows triggers fatigue, irritability, and poor focus, what many describe as morning brain fog. Over months, this repeated stress trains the body to overproduce insulin, eventually dulling the cell's sensitivity to it. That's insulin resistance, the same underlying process tied to metabolic syndrome, diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease. The tough part is that many seniors genuinely believe they're making good choices. They pick fortified cereals or whole grain toast thinking they're helping their heart. In reality, the issue isn't vitamins or fiber claims. It's the overall carbohydrate load compared to the protein and fat content. A full bowl of cereal might give you 2 or 3 grams of protein, while delivering 30 to 40 grams of fast-acting carbs. That's a poor trade-off for the aging brain, which needs steady fuel, not a flash flood. Now, to be clear, carbohydrates aren't villains. Your brain needs glucose. It just needs it delivered slowly and evenly. Low GI foods like oats in their less processed forms, whole fruit with intact fiber, or whole grain bread paired with fat and protein can keep sugar release steady for hours. But the average modern breakfast, especially those marketed as health conscious, strips away exactly what slows digestion and blunts insulin demand. Even something as commonplace as flavored yogurt belongs on this list. Many brands contain more sugar than ice cream. A serving of strawberry yogurt can have 20 to 25 grams of sugar, overshadowing its protein benefits. Swap that for plain Greek yogurt, and you flip the ratio: higher protein, minimal sugar, steadier energy. This single switch can transform how you feel through the morning. The most deceptive products are those that mix marketing buzzwords with nostalgia. Whole grain cereal with natural fruit flavor, multigrain toast with real jam. The grains might have started whole, but are pulverized into fine flour, while the fruit flavor is usually from concentrated sweeteners. That processing means your body digests it almost as fast as straight sugar. By age 65, insulin sensitivity may already be reduced by nearly 40% compared to youth, so your body simply can't keep up with the quick surge. Here's a quick experiment you can try. After one of these high-carb breakfasts, notice how you feel around 10 a.m. Do you get tired, foggy, or irritable? Do you crave something sweet or another coffee? Those are classic signs of reactive hypoglycemia, the sugar crash that follows a spike. Now contrast that with a morning when you have eggs and spinach or Greek yogurt with nuts. You'll likely find your mind clearer, mood steadier, and hunger much later. That's blood sugar balance in action. So what's the takeaway? Most traditional breakfast staples weren't designed with the older metabolism in mind. Cereal, toast, jam, and juice can work against you precisely when your brain needs stable energy the most. The trick isn't to banish carbs completely, but to outsmart them. Pair them with protein and healthy fats, choose less processed versions, and skip the added sugars and instant promises. The next time you walk down the cereal aisle or reach for that toaster, remember that the label wholesome doesn't always mean brain-friendly. The foods that served you well decades ago may no longer fit your body's rhythm today, but there's hope and plenty of room for delicious upgrades, ones that keep your blood sugar stable and your mind alert. And that's where we're heading next, because the sugar surge is only half the story. The real damage happens after insulin steps in to clean up the mess. The insulin spike, brain crash connection. Here's where things start to click, because understanding insulin is the missing link between what you eat in the morning and how clearly you can think through the day. Most people know insulin as the diabetes hormone, but its job goes far beyond that. Insulin acts like a key, opening the doors of your body's cells so that glucose from your blood can get inside and be used for energy. Every breakfast you eat gives that system a signal. If you send it balanced information, a slow trickle of glucose from whole foods mixed with protein and fat, the body handles it calmly. But if you start with a rush of sugar or refined carbs, insulin has to sound the alarm. That alarm response is fast and loud. Picture your bloodstream filling with glucose from cereal, toast, or juice. The pancreas immediately releases a big burst of insulin to push all that sugar somewhere safe. Within minutes, your blood sugar falls almost as quickly as it rose. For younger people, that roller coaster often ends with a little drowsiness. For seniors whose glucose control is more fragile, it can mean brain fog, fatigue, and that hollow, shaky feeling that creeps up before lunchtime. It's not in your imagination, it's your brain running out of fuel. The reason is simple: the brain can't store extra glucose. It depends on a steady drip from the bloodstream. When you overshoot with insulin, you pull too much sugar out at once, leaving the brain temporarily undersupplied. That's the crash, fuzzy recall, slow reaction, maybe even irritability. Over time, if you repeat this pattern morning after morning, your cells begin to tune insulin out because they're tired of being shouted at. Scientists call this insulin resistance, and it's incredibly common. In fact, up to half of adults over 60 already have some degree of it, often without realizing. This resistance damages two critical systems at once: energy regulation and inflammation control. Insulin isn't just about sugar. It also signals the brain to grow, repair, and protect nerve connections. When receptors stop listening, neurons lose part of their support network. That's when memory lapses show up more frequently and attention starts to wander. Modern neuroimaging studies show that people with insulin resistance have reduced activity in the hippocampus, the brain's main memory hub, even before any outward signs of cognitive decline appear. So the connection between breakfast choices and dementia risk isn't speculative theory. It's visible in labs. Elevated fasting insulin levels and wide glucose swings have been linked to greater accumulation of amyloid beta plaques, one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. Think of every sharp blood sugar spike as a tiny stress test for your brain cells. One or two don't seem like much, but thousands over decades erode resilience. Each surge kicks off inflammation and oxidative stress that quietly chip away at your neurons' ability to communicate. Now, you might wonder why the effect hits harder with age. In younger bodies, muscle tissue absorbs glucose efficiently, buffering those spikes. But muscle mass naturally declines as we age, leaving less storage capacity. Add in slower metabolism and medication side effects, and the pancreas ends up working overtime. Each exaggerated insulin response leaves slightly less flexibility in how your cells handle energy. That's why breakfast shapes the rest of the day's metabolism. It's the first challenge your body faces after fasting all night. Let's break down what a typical high GI breakfast does step by step. You eat a bowl of sweet cereal. Within 20 to 30 minutes, blood glucose peaks. Insulin floods the system. 30 minutes later, glucose plunges. You feel hazy and crave a refill, usually coffee or another snack. By mid-afternoon, fatigue sets in, so you reach for something sugary again. It's a loop: spike, crash, repeat. Over weeks, the baseline insulin level creeps upward because your body tries to anticipate those spikes. Elevated insulin suppresses fat burning, increases inflammation, and signals the liver to produce more triglycerides, which also compromise brain blood flow. Researchers now refer to this combination, elevated insulin, systemic inflammation, reduced brain energy, as type 3 diabetes, a term used to describe Alzheimer's-like changes driven by metabolic dysfunction rather than just genetics. It doesn't mean everyone with insulin resistance will develop dementia, but it underscores how strongly the two are linked. One large cohort study in 2024 reported that older adults consuming high glycemic breakfasts 5 days per week scored significantly lower on memory and attention tests after only 1 year compared to peers who ate low GI, higher protein meals. The difference wasn't subtle. Reaction times slowed and recall tasks worsened measurably. You can feel this effect within hours, not just years. That groggy sensation after pancakes or toast with jam. That's your blood sugar dropping below baseline. When the brain senses danger, it releases adrenaline and cortisol to bring levels back up, which can leave you jittery. Over months, these cycles contribute to chronic stress signaling. It's a biochemical tug-of-war. Your brain shouldn't have to fight before lunch. But the good news is that this entire chain reaction is highly reversible. Studies on seniors who replaced high GI breakfasts with balanced meals rich in protein and healthy fats saw improvements in insulin sensitivity within weeks. Even modest changes, switching from instant oats to old-fashioned oats or adding eggs instead of jam, flatten the glucose curve dramatically. As those swings smooth out, mental steadiness and energy return. A small anecdote drives this home. One clinical trial followed participants aged 65 and older who replaced their processed cereal with a breakfast of Greek yogurt, nuts, and a small serving of berries for 8 weeks. Blood tests showed their average post-meal insulin peaks dropped by 35%, and subjective reports of morning tiredness fell by more than half. They weren't on medication. They simply changed breakfast. Of course, awareness alone doesn't fix habits. Many people underestimate how carb-heavy their first meal really is. The brain doesn't crave sugar, it craves stability. The easiest way to help insulin do its job properly is by slowing down digestion. Pair carbs with protein, include fiber, and avoid added sugars early in the day. Egg-based dishes, Greek yogurt with seeds, or oatmeal cooked from whole oats and topped with nuts accomplish exactly that. The body releases energy gradually, insulin rises gently, and neurons get a consistent supply of glucose without overload. Think of insulin like a thermostat for your energy. A small breakfast of refined grains cranks the heat up suddenly, forcing a big cooling response that overshoots and leaves you cold, metaphorically and metabolically. A balanced breakfast sets a steady temperature instead. When you start your day with stable fuel, everything else, mood, concentration, coordination, stays even. One more crucial point. Physical activity enhances insulin sensitivity dramatically. A short walk after breakfast or light stretching can help muscles soak up glucose, smoothing out fluctuations even further. Pairing that with a smarter meal plan turns a downward spiral into a self-reinforcing cycle of stability. Your brain loves routine, and consistent blood sugar is the best routine of all. So the next time you notice fog creeping in after breakfast, remember it's not just aging, it's the insulin roller coaster. Step off by reducing processed carbs, increasing protein quality, and paying attention to how long your energy lasts before your next meal. These subtle signals tell you exactly how your metabolism is coping. And if half of adults over 60 can show improvement by changing one daily habit, that's proof enough that it's never too late to steady the ride. When we return to the plate itself, we'll see which foods drive these spikes more than any other. Because among all the culprits, one breakfast staple stands out as the single worst offender for your brain: the sugary cereals that claim to start your day right while quietly wrecking the balance insulin works so hard to maintain. The food most likely to worsen memory: sugary cereals. If we had to name one single breakfast that quietly undermines brain health more than any other, sugary cereal would be it. It hides in plain sight, stacked in colorful boxes that promise heart health, whole grains, and energy for the day. Yet beneath those claims lies the perfect storm of ingredients that drive insulin spikes, sap focus, and gradually weaken memory function in older adults. What makes cereals so harmful isn't just the sugar, it's the combination of ultra-processing, additives, and low protein that creates a neurological double whammy over time. Let's strip away the packaging and look at what's really inside those flakes and clusters. A typical, healthy cereal lists whole grains as the first ingredient, followed quickly by sugar, corn syrup, malt, and a cocktail of synthetic vitamins added back after processing stripped the real ones away. Even cereals labeled bran or multigrain are usually puffed or extruded under high heat, which breaks down starch molecules into forms your body digests as rapidly as table sugar. So even when a box advertises only 9 grams of added sugar, the rest of the carbohydrates convert into glucose so quickly that the total glycemic impact pushes the food into the high-risk category. And that high glycemic response is what starts the brain trouble. Senior digestives slow down with age, but paradoxically, their blood sugar spikes higher because muscle absorption declines. Studies show that older adults experience GI scores over 80 when eating cornflake-type cereals, compared to lower readings in younger test groups. That means one bowl of standard cereal can raise blood sugar more sharply than the same amount of candy. Within an hour, insulin floods the bloodstream to chase the sugar down, and half an hour later, glucose crashes. The short-term symptoms are familiar: foggy thinking, lethargy, irritability. The long-term consequence is cumulative insulin resistance. Recent research on ultra-processed foods offers more clarity on why this pattern is so dangerous. A 2024 cohort study following over 10,000 adults found that those getting more than 20% of their calories from ultra-processed foods experienced cognitive decline, almost 30% faster than peers who ate more whole food-based diets. Breakfast cereals, pastries, and bars were among the top contributors. These foods fuel chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, both of which directly attack brain cells and reduce the size of memory-related regions over time. When cell membranes repeatedly face oxidative assault, communication between neurons slows, and the brain compensates by recruiting more energy, further taxing insulin regulation. That's how a small daily choice snowballs into systemic wear-on brain networks. You might wonder, if cereal is so bad, why is it fortified with vitamins? The fortification myth deserves attention. Those synthetic vitamins help prevent nutrient deficiency, but they don't offset the metabolic damage caused by the sugar surge. The body doesn't process nutrition in isolation. You can add as many B vitamins as you want, but if the meal still produces a massive glucose spike, insulin will still trigger inflammation pathways that negate the potential benefit. True nutrient absorption depends on metabolic stability, something sugary cereals destroy. The additives make things worse. To keep flakes crisp and shelf-stable, manufacturers use emulsifiers, preservatives, and flavor enhancers that alter gut bacteria balance. Gut health directly influences brain health through the gut-brain axis. When the microbiome becomes dominated by sugar-loving bacteria, it promotes intestinal inflammation that can send stress signals to the brain. Researchers studying seniors with high consumption of ultra-processed products have found disruptions in gut microbial diversity linked to poorer executive function scores. In simpler terms, the more boxed cereal you eat, the less friendly bacteria you have protecting your brain from inflammation messaging. Now, let's talk texture and portion. Most serving sizes on labels are unrealistically small, around 30 grams, or about one modest handful. Few people stop at that. A typical breakfast bowl holds 2 to 3 times the listed portion, meaning you're often tripling the sugar and insulin load without realizing it. Add milk, a banana, or a sprinkle of dried fruit, and you're consuming nearly 40 to 50 grams of quick carbohydrates before leaving the table. That's an entire day's worth of sugar for someone aiming to stabilize insulin resistance. The irony is that many seniors choose cereal for convenience or digestion ease. It's soft, quick, and nostalgic, but nostalgia doesn't feed neurons. Those familiar crunches disguise how little actual nutrition they provide. Most cereals deliver fewer than 4 grams of protein per bowl. Compare that to plain Greek yogurt, which offers more than 5 times that amount. Protein quality, measured by PDCAS, matters hugely because amino acids like tyrosine and tryptophan feed neurotransmitters critical for focus and mood. The cereal breakfast simply lacks these building blocks, leaving the brain under-resourced even as it's overstimulated with sugar. There's also the emotional trap. Many people equate sweetness with comfort, especially in the morning. That initial serotonin hit from sugar can lift mood briefly, creating a reinforcing loop. Tiredness leads to cereal leads to temporary relief, followed by another crash. The brain interprets that pattern as reward learning. In aging adults, dopamine pathways become more sensitive to these quick lifts, which makes breaking the habit difficult, but not impossible. Awareness is the first tool for rewiring it. So, what's the alternative? It doesn't have to be dull or complicated. The goal is simply to slow down the sugar entry and provide protein early. Replacing your boxed cereal with steel-cut oats is one of the easiest wins. Steel-cut oats have a glycemic index around 42, less than half that of most packaged cereals. They digest slowly, releasing glucose steadily. Top them with nuts or seeds for healthy fats and lasting satiety, and you turn breakfast from an energy spike into a steady fuel source. For extra brain support, a sprinkle of blueberries adds antioxidants without overwhelming sugar. If you prefer crunch, Homemade granola made with unsweetened oats, nuts, and a small drizzle of honey can mimic the texture you crave while keeping insulin demands low. Store-bought varieties, however, often revert to the same high GI trap, so it's worth scanning the label. Aim for fewer than 5 grams of added sugar per serving, and at least 6 grams of protein. Another swap, egg-based breakfasts, or plain Greek yogurt parfaits. Eggs boast a perfect PDCAS score and deliver choline, a nutrient vital for memory formation. Greek yogurt, meanwhile, provides steady protein and beneficial probiotics that strengthen gut integrity, a key protector against the inflammatory effects that sugary cereals trigger. Layer it with berries and chia seeds, and you've got something that tastes like a treat, but performs like protective nutrition for your brain. More adventurous eaters can explore savory breakfasts popular in Mediterranean diets: scrambled eggs with vegetables, a slice of whole grain toast brushed with olive oil, or even a small portion of smoked salmon. These combinations align with the dietary patterns proven to preserve cognitive function and reduce dementia risk, largely because they modulate insulin release and provide antioxidants that combat oxidative stress. Still craving the simplicity of cereal? There's a transition strategy. Mix half steel-cut oats with a smaller portion of your usual cereal for a week or two, while gradually reducing the sugary part. This lets your taste buds reset. Within days, the old cereal will start to taste overly sweet, proof that your body is recalibrating. Complement that change with hydration and a source of healthy fat, such as half an avocado or a spoon of nut butter, to further stabilize digestion. Every morning you make this shift, you retrain your metabolism. You're teaching insulin to respond calmly instead of aggressively. The short-term reward is clearer thinking and steadier energy. The long-term reward is preserving the networks that enable memory and learning. The link between diet and dementia may seem complicated in academic journals, but in practice, it's simple. Repeated sugar surges wear down the same pathways that keep neurons thriving. The cereal aisle may be a minefield, but it's one you can easily step around once you know what to watch for. If the label lists more than 5 ingredients you wouldn't use in your own kitchen, treat it as a dessert, not a breakfast. Choose real food instead: oats, eggs, yogurt, nuts, fruits in their natural form. The difference in how your brain feels within a week can be striking. So yes, the worst breakfast offender for memory is that sweet bowl of convenience we were all taught to love. But the moment you replace it with stable, protein-rich, low GI options, the fog begins to lift. In just a few days, you might notice your mind feels sharper and your mornings more peaceful. And if you've ever wondered whether those cereal commercials were too good to be true, well, now you know why. Next, we'll look at another common combo that seems harmless but secretly stacks the deck against your brain: toast, jam, and juice, the triple glycemic trap. Toast, jam, and juice, the triple glycemic trap. We've already seen how cereals set you up for a blood sugar roller coaster. But what about the classic alternative, toast with jam and a glass of juice? It sounds lighter, maybe even fresher. Unfortunately, this trio forms the perfect storm of fast-acting sugars. It's what many dietitians now call the triple glycemic trap. Each one hits your bloodstream quickly, but together, they amplify one another in ways that quietly sabotage mental clarity and memory. Let's break it down piece by piece, starting with toast. White bread, and even many whole wheat options rank shockingly high on the glycemic index. Most come in around 75, rivaling the effect of pure glucose. For older adults, that number can spike even higher because digestion slows while insulin response weakens. In other words, your body releases glucose into the blood faster than your cells can handle it. You end up with a sudden sugar flood, followed by an equally fast drop. That drop is what makes you feel foggy, unfocused, or in need of a nap before your day's even begun. Now, layer on the jam. The average tablespoon contains about 10 to 12 grams of sugar, and few people stop at 1. Jam may have bits of fruit, but its composition is mostly refined sugar or high fructose corn syrup. The small amount of fiber that might have slowed absorption got cooked out long before it reached the jar. add a second slice of toast for balance, and you've now multiplied your sugar load more than threefold. The result? Glucose spikes above 160 milligrams per deciliter are common, especially for those over 60. Insulin pours in to compensate, and 30 minutes later, blood sugar dives right back down. And then comes the orange juice, the most deceptive part of the trio. Juice strips fruit of fiber, meaning that what should have been a slow carbohydrate becomes a rapid entry sugar shot. Even 100% juice lands in the medium to high glycemic range, around 65, which means it raises blood sugar almost as quickly as soda. Clinical studies show that a single cup of orange juice can cause glucose to surge by 50 points in older adults, creating the same hormonal turbulence as candy for breakfast. Mix that with toast and jam, and you've composed a perfect symphony of instability. High glycemic bread as the base, concentrated sugar on top, and liquid sugar to wash it down. Why does this matter for dementia prevention? Every one of those glucose spikes triggers oxidative stress, tiny bursts of cellular damage that accumulate over time. Research published in 2024 linked frequent post-meal sugar surges to markers of neuroinflammation. People who experienced bigger swings throughout the day performed worse on memory and processing speed tests. When insulin constantly surges to clean up after breakfast, it also interferes with the brain's natural housekeeping processes, allowing more amyloid beta proteins, the same type implicated in Alzheimer's, to linger. Remember, too, that seniors metabolize these foods differently. Even if you eat the same toast and juice you enjoyed decades ago, your pancreas now works harder to maintain balance. After 60, muscle mass dwindles, meaning fewer storage sites for glucose. The sugar your muscles would have soaked up now lingers in the bloodstream longer, demanding more insulin. That extra burden inflames blood vessels, including the fine capillaries in the brain that supply oxygen and nutrients. Over years, this vascular stress can limit circulation to memory-critical regions like the hippocampus. One often overlooked effect is the second meal phenomenon. When your first meal of the day spikes glucose dramatically, it blunts your body's ability to handle sugar hours later. Even at lunch, researchers call this metabolic carryover. So, a high-sugar breakfast doesn't just cause morning brain fog, it sets you up for afternoon sluggishness, too. It's essentially asking your metabolism to sprint before it's even warmed up. Before you panic about giving up your morning favorites, let's talk solutions. The fix isn't deprivation, it's redesign. Start with the bread. Choose whole grain or seeded varieties with a GI of 50 to 60, not 75. The visible grains and higher fiber slow digestion, lowering the insulin surge. Next, trade jam for healthy fat or protein. A thin spread of natural peanut butter, almond butter, or mashed avocado turns toast from a sugar bomb into a balanced meal. These toppings add unsaturated fats and protein that delay stomach emptying, meaning glucose drips out slowly instead of rushing in. The difference in energy stability can be dramatic after just a few days. If you love a sweet note in the morning, try adding thin banana slices or a few berries on top. Real fruit eaten whole includes fiber, water, and phytonutrients that temper the sugar release. That gives you sweetness without chaos. And rather than butter, olive oil, or a light drizzle of tahini, offers brain-protective monounsaturated fats that support neuronal membranes. These small swaps convert toast from a metabolic liability into a slow-release energy source your brain can actually use. Now for the juice. The smartest move is to eat fruit instead of drinking it. One medium orange provides roughly the same nutrients as a glass of juice, but only half the sugar and 4 times the fiber. The act of chewing even signals fullness hormones that help prevent oversnacking later. If you crave something to sip, infuse water with citrus slices or a splash of unsweetened cranberry or pomegranate for flavor. Another option is blending whole fruit with Greek yogurt into a smoothie, keeping the fiber intact. That way, glucose enters gradually and protein from the yogurt balances the response. Here's what a revised plate might look like. One slice of whole grain toast spread with half an avocado, topped with an egg or a sprinkle of seeds, a small side of berries, and a mug of unsweetened herbal tea or black coffee. This simple meal offers protein, fiber, and healthy fats, the three nutrients most capable of flattening your glucose curve. Where the old version caused your blood sugar to spike and crash within 90 minutes, this one sustains steady energy till lunch. In brain terms, that's the difference between grasping names easily or feeling like your thoughts are stuck in fog. Research backs this up. In dietary trials assessing post-meal glucose in seniors, switching from white bread and juice to whole grain bread with eggs reduced average glucose excursions by almost 35%. Participants also reported sharper attention and fewer mid-morning cravings. Nothing about those changes required complicated recipes. They just removed refined carbs and added balanced macronutrients. There's another hidden win: satiety. Protein and fat trigger hormones that tell your brain you're full. That means when you start your day with balanced toast and real fruit, you're less likely to graze on cookies or sugary coffee drinks later. Lower snacking keeps daily insulin exposure down, which further protects cognitive health. And let's not forget hydration. Seniors often confuse thirst with hunger, and dehydration magnifies fatigue. Starting the morning with water or tea supports circulation and helps your digestion process nutrients more efficiently. When you replace juice with water, you eliminate an unnecessary sugar hit while improving blood flow to the brain. Now, for those who share breakfast with loved ones, this shift can be a group effort. Caregivers or spouses can prepare healthier spreads on Sunday: mashed avocado with lemon, small cups of Greek yogurt, pre-washed berries. Having choices ready keeps convenience high while temptation low. Consistency, not perfection, protects memory best. In short, toast, jam, and juice form the triple glycemic trap because each piece reinforces the next, slamming your metabolism right when it's most vulnerable. Replace one element, and you start breaking the loop. Replace all three with whole grain, protein-rich alternatives, and you free your brain from its daily sugar chase. When breakfast gives you steady energy instead of spikes, clarity follows naturally. You'll notice you remember details more easily, your mood steadies, and those mid-morning cravings vanish. It's proof that small nutritional nudges can yield meaningful cognitive change. So, the next time breakfast smells like toast and marmalade, consider this friendly warning. It might taste like comfort, but behave like confusion once it hits your bloodstream. Rebuild that ritual with foods that love your neurons back: eggs, whole grains, fresh fruit, and real hydration. Coming up, we'll dig into what gives those brain-protective breakfasts their power: protein. After all, the nutrient that keeps muscles strong also feeds neurotransmitters and safeguards memory. Protein isn't just about staying fit, it's literally brain fuel. Let's see why. The brain protective power of protein. Protein often gets praised for building muscle, but what many people don't realize is that it also builds neurotransmitters, the chemicals that keep your memory sharp and your mood balanced. After 60, this becomes even more critical because your body's ability to use and synthesize protein declines. That means even if you're eating enough overall, your brain might still not be getting what it needs at breakfast. This section is where everything starts to click. The energy roller coaster of sugary meals isn't just about glucose swings. It's also about missing the steadying power that protein provides. Let's start with the biology. Your brain communicates through chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, and norepinephrine. All of these come from amino acids, the building blocks of protein. If your breakfast is heavy on refined carbs and light on protein, your body struggles to make enough of those messengers. That's why a breakfast rich in eggs, yogurt, or lean meats tends to leave people feeling mentally alert and emotionally stable. It's not magic, it's raw materials meeting metabolic need. Modern studies confirm how powerful this simple change can be. In 2024, A cross-sectional analysis of older adults found that those who consumed at least 20 grams of protein at breakfast preserved memory recall and attention better than those who ate mostly carbohydrates early in the day. What surprised researchers most was that total daily protein intake mattered less than when it was consumed. Breakfast turned out to be the critical window. After an overnight fast, the brain and muscles have gone hours without amino acids. Feed them promptly and performance improves. Delay it and mild depletion sets in. Now, it's not just about quantity, it's about quality. Scientists use something called the Protein Digestibility Corrected Amino Acid Score, or PDCAS, to measure how well different proteins meet the body's needs. The champions here are eggs, dairy, and lean meats, all with scores near 1, meaning they provide all essential amino acids in ideal proportions. Plant proteins like beans or nuts still contribute, but score a bit lower, so pairing them thoughtfully, for example, whole grain toast with peanut butter or lentils with rice, helps fill gaps. For seniors, choosing the highest PDCAS options at breakfast makes a measurable difference in cognitive function because it ensures quick availability of amino acids right when neurotransmitter production ramps up for the day. Remember earlier when we talked about insulin spikes? Protein plays the opposite role. It moderates them. When you eat a high-protein meal, glucose enters your bloodstream more gradually. That steadiness protects brain cells from oxidative stress while keeping you full longer. Think of protein as both a biochemical brake pedal and a structural repair crew. It slows things down when glucose comes rushing in and provides materials to rebuild neurons and synapses damaged by years of sugar-induced inflammation. There's also a connection between dietary protein and brain growth factors. High-quality protein increases the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which acts like fertilizer for neurons. Older adults with higher BDNF levels consistently outperform peers on memory and problem-solving tests. When BDNF drops, cognitive flexibility and mood regulation suffer. By simply starting your morning with a protein-rich choice, say an egg and yogurt combo, you nudge that biochemical system in a protective direction. A common misconception is that adding protein powders or supplements is enough. While those can help in specific cases, whole food proteins come with accompanying nutrients that powders lack: choline in eggs, calcium and probiotics in Greek yogurt, omega-3s in fish. Choline deserves special attention. It supports acetylcholine production, which directly influences attention span and learning. Data from aging studies show that people with higher choline intake perform significantly better on verbal memory tests. That's why dietitians often say, an egg a day can keep forgetfulness away. It's not folklore, it's neuroscience. Let's look at practical examples. Imagine 2 breakfasts. One is a bowl of instant oats flavored with brown sugar. The other is 2 scrambled eggs with spinach and a slice of whole grain toast. Calorie counts may be similar, but the protein jump is dramatic, from about 4 grams to over 18. The second breakfast keeps glucose stable for up to 3 hours and provides amino acids that replenish neurotransmitters. The first leads to a spike and crash cycle followed by cravings and drowsiness. That's why so many seniors report feeling satisfied but light after switching to egg-based meals. Greek yogurt is another all-star. A single cup has roughly 20 grams of protein plus probiotics that enhance gut health, an underrated factor in cognitive well-being. The gut-brain axis connects digestive balance and mood control, and one of the simplest ways to maintain it is through fermented dairy or plant foods. Studies show that adults who consume probiotic-rich breakfasts show improved attention and reduced markers of inflammation compared to control groups. Plain yogurt with berries and chia seeds becomes a multitasking breakfast. High protein, low GI, antioxidant rich, and gut friendly. If you prefer savory breakfasts, Lean meats like turkey or salmon provide both high PDCAS protein and long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that strengthen neuronal membranes. Omega-3s improve communication between brain cells, essentially making thought transmission more efficient. Pair them with whole grain toast and vegetables, and you've created a meal that stabilizes glucose, boosts neurotransmitter synthesis, and combats inflammation all at once. Few pills or supplements can deliver that combination. One key insight from nutrition research is the power of morning distribution. Instead of saving most protein for dinner, spreading it evenly across meals, especially emphasizing breakfast, helps older bodies use it more effectively. That's because age reduces the hormonal response that triggers protein absorption. A strong morning dose kickstarts protein synthesis for the entire day. In fact, seniors who consume about 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast maintain muscle and cognitive resilience far better than those who load protein only at night. The brain and muscles compete for amino acids, so breakfast timing ensures both systems get their share before fatigue sets in. Beyond metabolism, protein also tamps down inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is a major contributor to both insulin resistance and neuropathology. Diets overrun with refined carbs elevate inflammatory cytokines, but introducing protein balances that response. Whey, egg, and fish proteins contain bioactive peptides that modulate immune signaling. Translation: they calm the inflammatory chatter that otherwise erodes neurons over time. Even modest substitution, say, replacing half your breakfast carbs with eggs or yogurt, can lower systemic inflammation markers within weeks. But what about people with limited appetite or chewing difficulties? There are still easy ways to get enough protein. Soft options like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, or blended smoothies work beautifully. You can blend yogurt with milk, a scoop of nut butter, and half a banana, then sip slowly. It digests gently yet delivers over 20 grams of protein. For those managing blood pressure, using unsalted varieties of these foods keeps sodium low while preserving the benefits. Remember, the goal isn't sheer quantity, but consistent quality at each meal. If you've noticed that some mornings you recall names easily and other days struggle, part of that inconsistency may stem from protein intake. When neurotransmitter levels dip, synaptic firing slows, causing the classic tip of the tongue pauses. Restoring amino acid balance through diet smooths that communication. Over months, this adds up to what clinicians call cognitive resilience, the brain's ability to resist decline even under physical or metabolic stress. Energy stability is another immediate perk. Seniors switching from cereal-based breakfasts to protein-focused meals often report steadier moods and fewer afternoon naps. That's insulin working normally again, not spiking. And sustained focus supports everything from driving safety to social engagement, key components of healthy aging. Practically, building a protein-rich meal can be simple. Start by setting a 30-gram target for breakfast. That could be achieved with 2 eggs, 12G, half a cup of Greek yogurt, 10G, and a sprinkle of almonds, 5G. Add fruit or vegetables for fiber and color. Not only does this combination meet macronutrient needs, it keeps the meal satisfying for hours. Batch cook egg muffins, keep single-serve yogurts ready, or prep smoothie packs for convenience. The less friction in the morning, the more likely the habit sticks. Let's not forget hydration. Protein digestion requires water, and dehydration impairs concentration. Pairing a high-protein breakfast with a glass of water or green tea helps amino acids circulate efficiently. Small details like this amplify the benefits significantly. The message is clear. After 60, skipping or neglecting protein at breakfast is a missed opportunity for brain protection. Every morning gives the brain a chance to reset chemistry, support memory, and steady insulin. When protein anchors that first meal, cognitive decline slows, energy steadies, and mood lifts. It's one of the simplest, most evidence-backed interventions for aging successfully. So, next time you plan breakfast, don't just think light and easy. Think balanced and brain-fueling. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fish, or legumes. These are not just muscle foods. They're neuron protectors. Start your morning with them, and you give your brain the best possible foundation for the day. The role of low GI meals in cognitive protection. We've talked a lot about avoiding blood sugar spikes, but now let's focus on what actually works, the kind of meals that protect your brain instead of stressing it. Low glycemic or low GI breakfasts are a senior's best tool for steady energy and long-term cognitive protection. And this isn't just theory. Multiple studies show that older adults who favor low GI foods have better memory scores, improved insulin sensitivity, and even sharper attention throughout the day compared to those who start mornings with high GI meals. So what do we mean by low GI? It's a measure of how quickly a food raises blood sugar. Anything rated below 55 is considered low. The lower the number, the slower and steadier the glucose release. That means no roller coaster, no insulin overreaction, and no mid-morning crash. High GI breakfasts like sugary cereals, pastries, or white toast flood the bloodstream with sugar. Low GI meals, on the other hand, create a gentle curve your body can manage with ease. For seniors whose metabolism can't buffer sudden changes, as well, this distinction matters more than ever. Let's use real numbers to make this clear. Steel-cut oats have a glycemic index of about 42, remarkably gentle. Now compare that to instant oatmeal, which can range from 65 to 80, depending on flavoring. That's a completely different biological experience for your brain within the same food category. Whole fruits like grapefruit come in around 22, blueberries about 53, while white bread sits near 75. You can think of it like driving. Low GI foods let your body cruise smoothly, while high GI foods slam the gas, then hit the brakes. Researchers studying senior metabolism found something else interesting. Older adults respond to glucose even more dramatically than younger people. In one trial, identical meals produced a roughly 25% higher glucose spike in seniors. That means the same toast and juice breakfast can harm one person's insulin balance far more depending on age alone. It's why shifting toward lower GI meals has an outsized benefit past 60. It gives metabolism the breathing room it needs. What does a low GI, brain-friendly breakfast look like? Start with a foundation of slow carbs. Steel-cut or old-fashioned oats are great. Whole grain bread or rye, with visible grains, sits comfortably in the moderate to low range. Pair those with high-quality protein, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and healthy fats like avocado, nuts, or seeds. When you balance these three components, the protein and fat act like speed bumps that slow carbohydrate absorption. The result: your blood sugar rises slowly, stays in the healthy zone, and provides steady energy to your neurons for hours. There's another bonus to this balance. It supports the gut-brain connection. Low GI breakfasts, rich in fiber and probiotics, nourish beneficial gut bacteria. Those bacteria, in turn, produce compounds that reduce inflammation and send calming signals to the brain. Greek yogurt with berries and chia seeds, for example, is a triple win: low GI, high protein, and probiotic. Seniors who maintain a healthy gut microbiome often show better executive function. Things like planning, multitasking, and short-term memory, all key to staying independent. You might be surprised by how big a difference these swaps can make within just weeks. In clinical monitoring, seniors who shifted from high GI to low GI breakfasts saw measurable improvements in fasting glucose and insulin readings in under a month. Subjectively, they reported clearer thinking and fewer morning slumps. One participant even described it as switching from static on the radio to clear sound. That's how perceptible the mental clarity can be once your glucose curve flattens out. let's spotlight a few champions of the low GI club. Eggs are virtually zero on the glycemic index because they're pure protein and fat, meaning they have no direct effect on blood sugar. Paired with whole grain toast, they anchor your metabolism for hours. Greek yogurt averages around 15 to 20 on the GI scale and delivers about 20 grams of protein per cup. Add berries, especially blueberries or raspberries, both rich in antioxidants, and you've got a breakfast that supports both insulin stability and brain repair. Nut butters score around 14, and add mono and polyunsaturated fats that feed neuronal membranes. Spread them on whole grain toast, and you'll slow digestion even more. Even small changes add up. Swap juice for whole fruit, instant oatmeal for steel-cut oats, or sweetened yogurt for plain versions with fresh fruit toppings. These substitutions drop your average breakfast GI from the 70s down into the 40s, a move that could cut insulin response almost in half according to glycemic studies. That means less wear and tear on your system and more consistent energy for your brain. Another quiet advantage of low GI eating is mood stability. When blood sugar rises and falls gently, serotonin and dopamine production stay balanced. That translates to fewer mood swings and better motivation, issues many seniors assume are simply part of aging. In fact, stable glucose keeps cortisol, the stress hormone, in check, which further protects memory centers like the hippocampus from inflammation-induced shrinkage seen in long-term studies. Low GI meals also improve metabolic flexibility, the body's ability to switch between burning glucose and fat for energy. With age, that flexibility tends to fade, leaving many people dependent on constant carbohydrate intake to function. Starting the day with steady fuel retrains your metabolism to burn efficiently again, giving both body and brain a smoother rhythm. That's why many older adults find that once they adjust to lower GI breakfasts, they can go longer between meals without energy crashes or cravings. For anyone wondering how to apply this tomorrow morning, here are a few easy, science-backed combos. A bowl of steel-cut oats topped with walnuts and a spoonful of plain yogurt. 2 poached eggs with avocado on whole grain toast, plus grapefruit on the side. Greek yogurt layered with strawberries, chia seeds, and a handful of almonds. Cottage cheese with blueberries, and a drizzle of olive oil for healthy fats. Each of these keeps your meal's GI low while delivering over 20 grams of protein, enough to stabilize insulin and feed neurons properly. Importantly, these foods taste good and feel satisfying, so you're less likely to reach for sugary snacks later. Sustainability matters. You're building habits for protection that lasts decades. For those who love warm breakfasts, don't overlook savory oats cooked in unsweetened milk or broth with spinach and an egg on top. It's surprisingly tasty and keeps glucose flat as a calm day see. And if you're pressed for time, a smoothie made from whole fruit, Greek yogurt, and nut butter blends the same principles into something portable. The trick is keeping fiber intact and avoiding added sugars. That's what separates a brain-protective smoothie from a dessert in disguise. Scientists tracking long-term outcomes see consistent patterns. Lower post-meal glucose peaks correlate with slower cognitive decline. The mechanism appears twofold: reduced oxidative stress on neurons and improved insulin signaling in the brain. In plain language, you're preventing the daily microdamage that adds up over years. Switching to low GI mornings is like lowering the volume on a constant metabolic alarm that would otherwise wear your neurons down. Finally, here's an empowering thought. You don't have to give up carbohydrates. You just have to teach them manners. When carbs arrive at the table accompanied by protein and fat, they behave. When they show up alone, refined, processed, and fast digesting, they wreck the place. Low GI breakfasts are simply meals built with manners, providing slow, steady nourishment that keeps the brain's energy supply calm and continuous. So, as you think about tomorrow's breakfast, imagine giving your neurons a calm start rather than a sugar sprint. Choose the slower road. Oats over flakes, fruit over juice, yogurt over pastry, and you'll feel that clarity unfold hour by hour. Because for the aging brain, stability truly is strength, and low GI meals deliver exactly that. Building a balanced brain breakfast. Now that you know why protein and low GI choices both matter, let's bring them together into something practical, a plate you can see yourself making tomorrow morning. Building a balanced brain breakfast isn't about reinventing cooking. It's about timing and proportion. The right mix can stabilize blood sugar, fuel neurotransmission, and make mornings calm instead of frantic. Older adults often hear 100 confusing diet rules, but what the research boils down to is quite straightforward. 1/3 protein, 1/3 fiber-rich carbs, 1/3 healthy fats. That ratio supports energy, cognitive clarity, and digestion simultaneously. Start with the protein base, because it sets the tempo for glucose release. Eggs remain a gold standard option. Inexpensive, versatile, and one of the few foods with a perfect PDCAS score. Whether scrambled, boiled, or poached, they supply choline, which fortifies memory circuits and helps with focus. Pairing eggs with vegetables adds antioxidants and fiber. Frying spinach or tomatoes right in the pan means you're getting nutrients that protect the brain from oxidative stress. 2 eggs with a handful of greens and half an avocado already give you close to 20 grams of high-quality protein, slow carbs, and satisfying fat. That's a stable foundation that keeps your insulin response smooth for at least 3 hours. If you prefer something cooler and faster, Greek yogurt parfaits deliver similar chemistry in a spoon. 1 cup offers 20 grams of protein and probiotics that support gut-brain communication. Add half a cup of blueberries or raspberries and a sprinkle of chia seeds, and you've got fiber, antioxidants, omega-3s, and texture that makes the meal feel indulgent. Unlike flavored commercial yogurts, this version maintains a glycemic index in the teens, meaning almost no blood sugar drama. To boost flavor without sugar, mix in cinnamon or a dash of vanilla extract. Cinnamon has shown mild insulin sensitizing effects, providing a subtle extra guard against spikes. For oatmeal fans, steel-cut oats are the slow heroes your metabolism craves. They digest gradually, releasing glucose at a steady pace instead of flooding your bloodstream. Cooking them in milk or soy milk increases protein content, and stirring in crushed walnuts or almond butter balances the macronutrient ratio. Each addition acts like a speed bump, slowing carbohydrate absorption. Top this with sliced apple or pear, fruits whose fiber and polyphenol aid blood vessel health. And you've created a meal that nurtures both heart and brain. Researchers note that older adults eating fiber-dense breakfasts report higher morning alertness and more even moods throughout the day. Hydration quietly completes the equation. After 8 hours of sleep, mild dehydration can intensify fatigue and amplify hunger cues. Starting with a full glass of water or unsweetened tea before eating keeps circulation strong and helps amino acids reach the brain efficiently. Coffee, enjoyed in moderation, isn't off the table. In fact, caffeine can modestly enhance memory formation when paired with stable blood sugar levels. The problem is when coffee becomes the only breakfast and spikes cortisol alone. Always anchor it with food to avoid that jittery crash. Micronutrients deserve attention too. Vitamin D, often deficient in seniors, supports insulin sensitivity and cognitive performance. Including fortified dairy, eggs, or spending short daily time in sunlight maintains healthy levels. Pairing vitamin D with fats, like those in avocado or nuts, improves absorption. Omega-3 fatty acids are equally vital. They form structural components of brain cell membranes, keeping signals firing smoothly. Fish like salmon, sardines, or even fortified eggs can supply them. For those who don't eat fish, a tablespoon of ground flax or chia each morning offers plant-based omega-3s that still benefit neuronal health. Portion control helps prevent even wholesome meals from tipping the balance. A simple visual cue. Fill 1/3 of your plate with protein sources, 1/3 with high-fiber carbohydrates, and 1/3 with colorful vegetables or fruits, plus healthy fats. This ratio naturally moderates calorie density while ensuring enough variety for satiety. Scientific trials on balanced meal composition in seniors show improved post-meal glucose curves regardless of total calories. In other words, it's not how much you eat, it's what's on the plate together that matters. Busy mornings can derail good intentions, so Prep Ahead eliminates that pressure. On Sundays, boil eggs, portion yogurt cups with berries, or make small jars of overnight steel-cut oats. These habits turn willpower into convenience. People over 60 who establish such systems are far more likely to maintain stable eating rhythms, which keeps insulin cycles predictable. Predictability is underrated. It tells your body when to expect fuel, preventing cortisol spikes from erratic meal timing. Consistency becomes its own form of medicine. Beyond nutrients, taste and enjoyment decide whether habits last. Season vegetables with herbs instead of salt, add a squeeze of lemon for brightness, drizzle olive oil sparingly. Healthy fats aren't just fuel, they help absorb fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K. If you enjoy sweetness, reach for nature's dessert, whole fruit. Its fiber slows the sugar and provides micronutrients that processed sweets can't match. Grapefruit, apple, or a handful of berries all clock low on the GI scale and pair beautifully with protein foods. Seniors in long-term studies who replaced daily juice servings with whole fruit showed lower fasting insulin levels within weeks. Let's piece together a few sample breakfasts that apply everything we've covered. Egg and veggie plate. 2 eggs cooked with mushrooms and spinach, half an avocado, and a piece of whole grain toast. This combo delivers balanced macros, ample choline, and antioxidants while keeping GI moderate. Yogurt berry bowl, plain Greek yogurt layered with berries, chia, and chopped walnuts. High protein, probiotic support, fiber, and fats make insulin barely rise while hunger stays away till midday. Oatmeal upgrade, steel-cut oats cooked in milk, topped with sliced pear and a teaspoon of almond butter. Add cinnamon for taste and insulin moderation. Everything here supports slow digestion and mood stability. These examples each align with the 1/3 plate rule and land in the ideal glucose range. They're built for brains that require steadiness, not spikes. And they're simple enough for anyone to assemble in minutes. Let's not overlook emotional nourishment. Food rituals carry memories. Abruptly abandoning favorite breakfasts can feel like loss. Instead, view every improvement as an evolution of those traditions. If cereal reminds you of childhood, make a modern bowl using unsweetened oats and nuts. If toast feels comforting, top it with cottage cheese and fruit instead of jam. You retain the routine, but trade the drawbacks for benefits. That mindset shift from restriction to refinement makes change sustainable. Caregivers can apply the same approach. Prepare ingredients in accessible containers, write quick mix and match charts, or cook protein bases ahead, so a loved one only needs to assemble. Supporting independence with easy, brain-friendly breakfasts reduces cognitive stress for both parties. Clinics increasingly integrate such meal prep education into dementia prevention programs because routine and nutrient density reinforce each other. Finally, reflect on how this balanced structure impacts the rest of your day. When you stabilize morning glucose, you free your brain from energy emergencies. The result isn't just sharper memory, but calmer mood regulation, fewer cravings, and even improved sleep at night because cortisol follows a gentler curve. A balanced breakfast resets that rhythm daily. So tomorrow morning, before reaching for convenience foods, visualize the 1-1-1 ratio on your plate. 1/3 protein, 1/3 fiber-rich carbs, 1/3 healthy fats. Combine colors, textures, and flavors. Drink water first, Then eat slowly enough to let fullness cues appear. Those simple steps form the safest, most pleasant way to preserve brain function and vitality. You're not dieting, you're designing stability. Because every balanced breakfast is like an investment deposit into your cognitive savings account, earning compound interest in clarity, independence, and memory strength for years ahead. Real-world application and habit change. We've covered the science, the foods, and the reasoning. Now it's time to turn all of this into everyday life, the real-world habits that make change stick. Because let's be honest, knowing that sugary breakfasts harm your brain doesn't instantly make you crave spinach and eggs. Real transformation happens through small, repeatable rituals that feel doable every single morning. This section is about bridging theory and practice, taking the nutritional wisdom we've discussed and turning it into something you can sustain without stress. Start with mindset. Think in terms of progress, not perfection. The goal isn't to become a gourmet nutritionist overnight. It's to move steadily towards stability. You're not eliminating comfort. You're redesigning it. Shifting from cereal to oats, from juice to fruit, or from toast to yogurt may seem small, but each choice lowers the insulin load, smooths your energy curve, and builds momentum. Changing breakfast is powerful because it's the first win of the day, one that anchors every decision afterward. Step 1 is awareness. Spend a few mornings simply observing what and when you eat. Write it down, not to judge yourself, but to see patterns clearly. Do you skip breakfast? Do you lean on refined carbs because they're quick? Do you crash mid-morning? Awareness exposes habits quietly working against you. Once you see them, you can edit them one at a time. Step 2, adjust gradually. Choose one swap per week. Maybe it's replacing instant oatmeal with steel-cut oats the first week. Next week, trade jam for mashed avocado. The following week, swap juice for water and a piece of fruit. Change layered slowly creates less resistance because your taste preferences adapt naturally. The brain rewires taste buds based on what you consistently eat. So by week 3, sugary foods that once felt comforting might start tasting overly sweet. That's your metabolism rebooting. Planning matters, too. Many seniors grab processed breakfasts simply because they're tired or short on time. That's why Sunday prep becomes a secret weapon. Boil a batch of eggs, portion out yogurt and berries into containers, or cook a pot of steel-cut oats for reheating. Store small packs of nuts, seeds, or whole grain crackers for quick sides. Having ready-to-grab pieces means you'll default to the healthier choice even on groggy mornings. It's not discipline, it's design. When better options are visible, the brain takes the path of least effort. Another tip, build structure, not rigidity. Schedule breakfast within an hour of waking. Research on insulin resistance shows that early meals help reset circadian rhythms and stabilize glucose for the day. Waiting until late morning delays that metabolic signal and amplifies fatigue. If you're not hungry right away, start with something light, a small portion of Greek yogurt or half an avocado toast, then expand gradually. Regular timing matters more than perfection. And remember, you don't need elaborate recipes. A pattern works better than a plan. For example, follow this simple 3-part formula: 1 protein plus 1 fiber source plus 1 healthy fat. That can mean eggs, spinach and olive oil, or yogurt, berries and nuts, or cottage cheese, apple slices, and almond butter. When cooking feels like work, keep portable options handy: pre-made high-protein smoothies or snack boxes with boiled eggs and fruit pieces. Consistency trumps creativity in building new neural habits. Let's address the emotional side. Food connects to family memories, cereal brands from childhood, toast shared with a spouse, the smell of coffee blended with marmalade. Changing breakfast touches those emotions. Rather than cutting off tradition, reinterpret it. If you always enjoyed sweet cereal, create your own grown-up version using oats, cinnamon, and nuts. If toast with jam reminds you of someone special, keep the toast, but top it with ricotta and raspberries. You keep nostalgia, but lose the sugar spike. This balanced approach respects both body and memory. Caregivers can play a huge supportive role. For older adults managing cognition or mobility challenges, preparing balanced breakfasts can feel overwhelming. Caregivers can simplify by organizing a brain breakfast station, keeping egg muffins, yogurt cups, nut butters, and fresh fruit within easy reach. Instead of micromanaging every meal, the helper ensures access and routine. Small things, labeling shelves, pre-portioning, or prepping 2 days ahead, reduce stress and make independence possible. If habits are shared with a partner, involve them in experimenting. Turn breakfast transformation into something collaborative, not corrective. Try taste tests together. One morning with cereal, one with oats, then compare how each feels 2 hours later. Couples who share these small experiments often keep momentum better because results become visible. Fewer naps, clearer focus, happier moods. Encouragement beats lectures. Social reinforcement also matters. Tell a friend about your breakfast goals. Accountability doesn't have to be formal. A quick morning text about what you ate or how you feel builds consistency. Group environments like community centers or senior programs can easily integrate balanced breakfast challenges. When change feels shared, it feels easier. Many retirement communities already piloting such programs report participants showing improved energy and even weight stabilization after several months. Another real-world trick is environmental cue control. Keep high GI foods out of immediate sight, those bright cereal boxes, jam jars, or sugary breakfast bars. Out of sight truly means out of mind. Replace countertop clutter with your new staples: bowls of fruit, jars of oats, containers of nuts. Visual cues influence decisions more than willpower does. A kitchen staged for brain health quietly guides better behavior without daily arguments with yourself. Let's talk about taste fatigue, the biggest reason healthy intentions fade. Rotate flavors weekly. If you're into savory, alternate between eggs, cottage cheese, or tofu scrambles with herbs. If you're into sweet, vary between berry parfaits, apple cinnamon oats, or orange almond smoothies. The brain craves novelty. Even swapping cinnamon for nutmeg or trying different nuts keeps things interesting enough to prevent backsliding into old habits. Keep a feedback loop. Each week, jot down how you feel 2 hours after breakfast. Alert, tired, light, sluggish, whatever applies. Over several weeks, patterns will appear. You'll physically feel which meals stabilize you. That personal evidence becomes motivation stronger than any rule book. Seeing tangible improvements, fewer afternoon slumps or fog, reinforces the habit deeper than reading labels ever could. Sometimes change stalls because of unrealistic expectations. Remember, metabolism adapts slowly. It might take 2 to 4 weeks to notice sharper mornings or steadier moods. But once the benefits surface, they stick. Think of each breakfast as a small deposit into your brain's energy bank. Skip consistency and you withdraw too often. Repeat steadiness and you build interest. Micronutrient attention continues even during upkeep. Seniors on medications or with absorption challenges should discuss vitamin D or B-complex supplementation with healthcare providers. Small dietary shortfalls can undo other good habits if left unchecked. But do this with medical guidance. Not guesswork. Supplements enhance a strong base. They don't replace it. For moments of relapse, grabbing a donut on the way somewhere, for instance, the key is neutrality. Don't frame it as failure. A single sugary breakfast doesn't erase progress. It simply provides contrast. Note how your body feels afterward. Sluggishness, hunger, or mild irritability are reminders of why you changed in the first place. Experience often teaches better than guilt can. The next morning, return to your balanced template and move on. Now, let's merge habit change with physical activity. Light motion after breakfast dramatically improves insulin sensitivity even in older adults. A 10-minute walk, gentle yoga, or household chores all count. Movement helps muscles absorb glucose, reducing blood sugar strain from even moderate GI meals. Pairing stable breakfasts with regular morning movement doubles brain benefits, improves circulation, and steady energy supply. To make these new routines stick long-term, attach them to existing anchors, things you already do daily. For example, prepare breakfast right after feeding the pet or checking the newspaper. Habit formation, experts call this stacking. It links new behaviors to old actions, so they trigger automatically without decision fatigue. Before long, the balanced breakfast reflex becomes as natural as brewing coffee. Budget concerns also come up, especially for those on fixed incomes. Fortunately, brain protective foods aren't necessarily expensive. Eggs, bulk oats, frozen berries, and store-brand yogurt are all affordable staples. Buying whole foods over individually packaged cereals or bars often lowers grocery bills while improving nutrition density. Plan simple shopping lists: protein items, slow carbs, healthy fats, hydration sources. Maintaining clarity doesn't require a luxury diet. It requires smart organization. Let's not forget celebration. Habit change can feel invisible day to day, so track wins intentionally. Set small milestones: 1 week without juice, 2 weeks of steady breakfast timing, or 4 consecutive protein-first mornings. Each success proves capability. Reward progress in meaningful, healthy ways, maybe a new walking playlist or kitchen gadget, not sugary pastries. Positive reinforcement keeps motivation alive. Over months, these incremental steps create compounding results. Insulin sensitivity improves, hunger normalizes, energy steadies, and memory feels clearer. It's a virtuous cycle. The more balanced your breakfasts become, the more capable you feel to maintain them. Eventually, you'll stop thinking about cutting sugar and start noticing simply how good clarity feels. And that's the bigger point. Breakfast isn't just a meal, it's a signal to your body about what kind of day lies ahead. When that signal is stable, your brain hums along smoothly. When it's erratic, the whole system plays catch-up. Master the morning, and the rest of the day follows. So as you move forward, remember this simple loop: observe, plan, prepare, adapt, repeat. Stack small wins, celebrate progress, forgive stumbles, and keep consistency sacred. For seniors aiming to preserve freedom, memory, and peace of mind, this rhythm, built one breakfast at a time, is among the strongest medicines available without a prescription. Change doesn't have to feel overwhelming. Just start with the next morning's plate and let stability become your new comfort. Protect your brain, one breakfast at a time. If there's one lesson to take from everything we've covered, it's this: breakfast isn't just fuel, it's a daily decision that shapes how your brain ages. Skipping meals or leaning on sugary cereals and toast might seem harmless, but those choices trigger insulin spikes that slowly drain clarity and resilience. Over time, those morning habits carve patterns in metabolism that the brain can't easily undo. The fog, forgetfulness, or fatigue many people accept as just getting older often reflect these repeated glucose swings, not destiny. The hopeful part is how quickly your brain rewards better choices. When breakfast shifts toward protein and low GI foods, insulin steadies, inflammation quiets, and neurons refuel properly. In mere days, energy stabilizes. Within weeks, memory sharpens. Consistent protein-rich mornings improve neurotransmitter production and strengthen brain networks that defend against cognitive decline. The science backs it. Seniors prioritizing high-quality protein and balanced carb intake have measurably slower memory loss and stronger recall. That's not theory. It's biology responding to smarter routines. So tomorrow morning, pause before pouring cereal or grabbing juice. Ask one simple question. Will this meal stabilize my energy or spike it? Choose the one that steadies. Maybe that's an egg and avocado, Greek yogurt with berries, or oatmeal thick with nuts. These meals don't just fill hunger, they feed neurons, balance mood, and keep blood vessels flexible. You'll feel the difference in steadier focus, smoother mornings, and confidence that your routine truly supports your mind's future. If you care for someone older, share this knowledge gently. Change works best with encouragement, not lectures. Replace one item at a time, celebrate each small win, and make breakfast a shared ritual of protection rather than guilt. Even modest improvements ripple through the entire day. Calmer moods, sharper conversations, and more independence. Think of every morning as a blank slate for prevention. The meal that starts your day can quietly erode brain health or become your first daily act of defense. Protect your neurons, preserve your clarity, and enjoy that renewed steadiness, knowing it began one breakfast at a time. Your next smart step: subscribe for more healthy aging tips, and check out the video coming up on easy daily habits that boost memory naturally, because protecting your brain starts right at the kitchen table.